Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Informal back with a new Mr. Informal podcast. We are on podcast 227. 227. I hope you're doing well today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night wherever you are in the world. I hope you are healthy, stay healthy, and certainly enjoying life. So, again, I am Mr. Informal bringing you the podcast 227 or 227. So, just to remind all of you, please do not forget to add me on Instagram, MisterInformal, and then check out my website, mrinformal.com, MRINFORMAL.com. So, what do we have in this Mr. Informal Podcast 227? Number one, what happened to instant fashion from runway to the store? Number two, well, theft or stealing has been cutting on a lot of brands' profit. Well, that's pretty obvious. Number three, FUBU. For Us By Us, the brand that I used to wear when I was in high school and middle school. Well, they might be coming back. Last but not least, John Varvatos has joined Under Amour. Wow. John Varvatos, the menswear designer, has joined Under Amour. That is correct. And so those are the four topics for this Mr. Informal Podcast 227. And so let's go ahead and start the podcast. So on the first topic, instant fashion. Last year, or it could have been a couple of years ago, whatever it may be, a lot of brands were talking about whatever you see in the runway can be instantly ordered and shipped to you. That's correct. I mean, it seems like that was going to be a trend. It seems like instant, right? Instant fashion, or you can even say fast fashion. But hey, I mean, I don't see anything about that anymore. I wonder why. It's pretty obvious that fast fashion or this instant fashion runway to the streets is not impossible, but you really have to basically have the units or the quantity sitting in your warehouse while the fashion show is being presented to the world. So basically, at the same time, while somebody's watching the runway, they can easily order if they like it or not, and then you can ship it to them. But fashion is not like that. Fashion is a reactive business. They're waiting for customer to have demand. They're waiting for demand from the customer, and then they'll create the product. You know, sometimes people would just test. That's when you have planning or merchandisers to make sure that they have enough units, or those are the styles that people will buy. But it's a compromise. If it's great, then good. You have it right there, ready to sell. If it's bad, then if there's no demand, then you're just having to stay on inventory and you might put it on sale. So whichever. But it's pretty obvious that instant fashion or runway to the streets is not gonna happen. Maybe a couple of pieces that could happen, but for the most part, or the majority of the consumer, runway to the streets is not going to happen. And instantly fast fashion is not like that. Fast fashion is, again, reactionary. If there is a demand, they'll make it. But we all know the compromises of fast fashion: environmental, carbon footprint, and look what happened to Forever 21. You're gonna have a lot of mismanagement. Also, you might end up going to have people be exhausted or fatigued of these brands. So again, you know, people think that fast fashion, look, there will be a market for fast fashion, but not everybody's gonna have runway to the streets or even just buy these fashion until they see it in person. Because honestly, when it comes to clothes, you have to try it in person before you buy it. I mean, that's just the truth. So, from RetailDive.com, theft profits titled Dick's Cuts Job as Theft Takes a Bite out of Profit. The Athletics Retail rolled out a business optimization plan to streamline its cost structure, while executive called theft an increasingly serious issue. So you're telling me that you're cutting jobs, you're firing employees for something that they did not do, and yet you can't hire a security to reduce theft or to remove theft. That's unbelievable. See, this is why I don't really shop at Dick's a lot of times. I'm glad I don't. Dick's Sporting Goods on Tuesday announced a business optimization that includes cutting jobs and streamline its overall cost structure, according to a company press release. The unspecified number of layoffs came mostly from its customer support center. The job cuts, which were on Monday, will cost Dick's $20 million in severance expenses in third quarter, but any cost saving from the move are expected to be offset by hiring investments elsewhere. At the same time, the retailer reported earnings for the for the second quarter, with net sales up 3.6 year over year and comms up 1.8%. Dick's fell short of profitability expectation, which CEO Lauren Hobart said in a statement, because of high levels of inventory shrink. Really? So you're going to reduce the amount of customer support, which matters. I mean, no wonder there's not a lot of employees who works at Dick's Sporting Goods every time I go there. So while Dick's net sales continue to rise, its net and operating income were both down double digit in the quarter. Net income fell 23% to $244 million, while operating income tumbled 32% to roughly $312 million. In our view, this is a particular issue as Dick's many its products it sells are desirable and have good resale value. While the problem is not one of Dick's making, management does not seem to have any immediate solution to the problem, which could, if left unchecked, continue to weigh down on the bottom line. Really? Wow. They don't have an immediate solution. You're telling me you're not wanting to hire security? Unbelievable. You know what? Honestly, if Dick's fell, screw it. I at this point, I don't really care. I really don't. I mean, I would think that with higher security, it's as easy as that. I mean, sure, it's gonna cost millions to hire security people in every store, but at least it's not cutting down on your profits, and at least people's jobs are not on the line. But again, like I said, if they fail, they fail. At this point, I don't really care. On to the third topic. Well, lately, Drake, the rapper Drake, which I used to listen to, but not anymore because he got lazy with his lyrics and his rapping. It's as if he doesn't care anymore. It's pretty obvious that he's not hungry anymore, but that's a whole different subject. Let's talk about his fashion. So Drake recently been wearing a sky blue FUBU shirt. FUBU stands for us by us. I used to wear those clothes back in middle school. I guess you want to say 15 years ago. Maybe. I don't know. I probably not 15 years. Probably more than that. But don't be surprised if FUBU makes a comeback. I mean, Drake has fans. A lot of fans. As much as I hate to say that. But he has a lot of fans. And so, when Drake wears something, a lot of his fans notice. And so, also, For all the people who have never been outside of the US of A, FUBU is actually, a lot of people wear FUBU. You see them in major retailers, in international, in different countries. And so you're always going to see that FB logo. So moving on, a lot of Drake's fans are going to start taking a notice, and they're going to start looking at the brand FUBU, and they might start buying these clothes. And it's going to be very similar to what happened to Fila. And I mean, I used to wear Fila when I was a kid. Champion, same thing. I used to wear Champion when I was a kid. You can buy them at Kmart or Sears. The cheap brands, you can buy them Walmart. Same thing with Starter. I mean, man, Starter. I used to wear Starter. I mean, a lot of these, I wouldn't say, vintage brands are coming up again. I mean, would FUBU be a vintage brand? I mean, I don't think so. Because, like I said, you see them in different countries out there. But in the meantime, you don't be surprised if they do make a comeback. It's not going to be a quick comeback. It's going to be just very slow. Maybe this year you're going to see a lot more blogs and also influencers wearing FUBU. And then 2024, 2025, 2026, maybe FUBU will make their stride and start coming back again. And just so people don't forget is that FUBU is owned by black people. FUBU was one of the first, I wouldn't say if not the first, black-owned clothing brand that became mainstream, that a lot of rappers wore. How do I know that? I mean, like I said, I wore it. I wore it when it was gaining traction and it became popular. I knew about it. I mean, like I said, I wore it. Same with Fat Farm, if you want to get with Russell Simmons. But again, this I would certainly be glad if they do make a comeback, because it would be a great comeback story. Not only that, it's going to be great for minorities out there to understand the past, the history of FUBU. I mean, I would love to see rappers wear FUBU again. I mean, again, if you look at the music videos in the late 90s and early 2000s, a lot of them were wearing FUBU, the FUBU 05 jersey. So it's going to be interesting as to what the future of FUBU will hold. I mean, are they going to be exclusive only to international countries instead of the US of A? Or are they going to start planning out another takeover in the US of A? So it's going to be interesting. We'll see what FUBU will have in store for the US of A. Here is an interesting topic. Last topic from RetailDive.com titled Under Amour taps John Varvatos as Chief Design Officer. Unbelievable. I need to know, what does John Varvatos know about performance wear, sportswear? John Varvatos has been named Chief Design Officer at Under Amour, overseeing the athletics brand design studios in New York, Baltimore, and Portland, Oregon. He has already been consulting with the brand this year and takes the job permanently as of September 11, according to a company press release. Varvatos, whose career has included stints at American fashion brand Ralph Lauren, Calvin Klein, and is known for taking aesthetic cues from the Detroit punk scene. He founded his own label in 2000, which ended up in the VF Corp stable, and the conglomerate acquired partner Nautica in 2003. So VF Corp sold majority of the stake in the business to Lion Capital in 2012, and the private equity firm acquired all of its assets amidst bankruptcy 8 years later. So his own brand failed. He arrives Under Amour as a more consumer to turn to activewear and for activities well beyond sports. The innovation, design, and mission of the brand has never been more relevant as consumer demand clothes that function for both sports and everyday activities, he said in the statement. Well, duh. Right, so newly arrived CEO Stephanie Lennertz has called 2023 building year, and Varvatos could be key to its results, expert says. I actually like this hire, bringing a fresh perspective to product design, shifting performance brand to a lifestyle brand. Wow. So, there it is. John Varvatos designed Under Amour, coming near you during Christmas. Look, I mean, I'm sure Under Amour is trying to revitalize themselves, and so they decide to hire a veteran in design. My only question about this hire is, does John Varvatos know about performance? It sounds like that he wants to get into more athleisure wear. But what about the clothes that can perform into sports, into exercising? What about athletes, sponsored athletes? Then how are you going to compete with the research and development against Nike and Adidas? I mean, I just need to know. I mean, does he know anything about that? Because all I know about John Varvatos is creating a menswear, denim, screen prints, something you see a punk rock or a classic rock artist wearing. But look, he's just gonna be the chief design officer. He's not gonna be designing, and most likely he's just going to be directing the designers on what to design. I'm sure the designers themselves and the developers are gonna make sure John Varvatos is going down to earth. Meaning, look, what do we want? It looks like he wants to combine athletic wear and comfort wear. Again, sure, that's only one part of the category, but Under Amour is more than that. Now Under Amour is going against Lululemon. Lululemon might take the spot from Under Amour. I mean, they probably have. I mean, a lot of people see Under Amour as just a low class, Nike? I guess you can say. I mean, it's pretty obvious John Varvatos failed in his own line. I mean, he sold it. Either that or maybe his design just weren't good anymore. So, I mean, it's good. It's really going to be interesting. Not only that, Under Amour also has to deal with inventory, but that's not John Varvatos' problem. He's coming in there with a design perspective, not in performance perspective or not in sports perspective. He's just coming in there as a design perspective. So, but hey, we'll see how that goes. And so that basically concludes this Mr. Informal podcast 227. Hopefully you listen to me from beginning to end, and if you did, I really do appreciate it. Hopefully I gave you news that you haven't heard before. I gave you some insights that you never thought before. And again, just to remind you, please do not forget to add me on Instagram, MISTERINFORMAL, and then check out my website, mrinformal.com, mrinformal.com. And so this basically concludes this Mr. Informal podcast 227. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Hopefully you healthy, stay healthy, and be safe. Bye-bye.